trial, the Trayvon Martin trial. Breitbart's got a good piece today, the 10 things the media aren't telling you about the Zimmerman case. And I've been surprised, even talking to some people around here that aren't particularly politically minded, at the amount of distortion and misunderstanding they have about the basic facts of this case. And I just want to run through these very quickly with you. It's a piece by John Nolte at Breitbart.com if you want to read it for yourself. But it's an excellent little piece, the 10 things the media aren't telling you about the Zimmerman case. And what I realized in talking to even people around here, if they're not paying attention, they're going to pick up stuff here and there, but it's a lot of time it's going to be from mainstream media outlets, and they're going to get a distorted perspective. Now, here are the 10 things that the media is not telling you. Number one, there is zero evidence that race was involved in the shooting at all whatsoever. We've talked about this is why you listen to Focal Point, because you know you're going to get the truth here. You're not going to get something filtered, screened, blocked, distorted, twisted. This is going to be the straight story, and you're going to get it here. Race was not a part of this shooting whatsoever. You know, the FBI did that extensive research, talked to 35 witnesses, 300 pages, not a trace of any kind of racism on George Zimmerman's part. And during the trial, the prosecution did not accuse Zimmerman of having any kind of racial motivation. This is what the media is not telling you. The prosecution never once made an issue of race, never referred to race, never even suggested or hinted at some kind of racial motivation on George Zimmerman's part. But that's all the media can talk about. It's all Al Sharpton can talk about. It's all Jesse Jackson can talk about. It's all the race baiters can talk about. Race. Race had absolutely nothing to do with it. The one juror that's spoken out said that the jury saw no evidence of racial motivation whatsoever. So this whole business about race being at the root of this, it's just nothing but lies. It's nothing but speculation. It's nothing but innuendo, which is designed to inflame division and hate. And don't forget, Booker T. Washington said back in his day, you got people that make their living off of stirring up racial division and stirring up racial animosity. You got the same thing today. These people cannot afford for us to get beyond the issue of race. Al Sharpton's reason for existence is racial division, racial animosity, racial hostility. He claims to want to heal this divide, make peace. He doesn't want that whatsoever. Jesse Jackson does not want that. If racial division goes away, if we overcome, they have absolutely no reason even to live. I mean, they are dependent on there being racial strife, racial division, racial animus. They will take any occasion to try to stir that up. It's reprehensible, but that's what they do, and that's what they are. A second thing the media is not telling you is Zimmerman had a history of being colorblind. He dated black women. He tutored black children. He stood up for a black homeless man against the police at one time. He has black relatives. He voted for Obama. George Zimmerman voted for the first black president, Barack Obama. Zero, nada, zip, zilch evidence of any kind of racism in George Zimmerman. Third thing the media won't tell you is that Zimmerman is Hispanic. He's not white. He's got a white father. He's got a Hispanic mother. He is just as Hispanic as Barack Obama is black, but the media wants to refer to him as white. They've kind of made up this term, white Hispanic. New York Times use it. They've used it 5 times in their entire history. Fourth thing the media is not telling you is that the Obama administration has actually launched a fishing expedition to try to get dirt on Zimmerman. I am not kidding. They've got a hotline. You got any innuendo, any dirt you can dish on Zimmerman to give them a case to go after him on racism, hate crimes. They've got an email address that is sanctified, devoted to that one cause, for people to rat out George Zimmerman. There's nothing there. So people are just going to be making stuff up, and they can send it in to the Department of Justice. And you think about this, how alarming that is. You've got the entire resources of a branch or an agency of the federal government, the Department of Justice, really an entire branch of the government, the executive branch, because President Obama's behind this, going after an innocent man, going after a guy that has been tried by a jury of his peers and found not guilty. and the federal government is still going after him, even though he has been tried and found not guilty in a court of law. That is reprehensible, and that's tyranny of the blackest dye. Here's a fifth thing the media won't tell you. You know who was concerned about violence? The media is saying, oh, the conservatives, they've got this stereotype. They're out there talking about violence and the fear of violence. You know who was concerned about violence, who feared violence? President Obama. Because he said in his remarks, I know this case has elicited strong passions. In the wake of the verdict, I know those passions may be running even higher. I now ask every American to respect the call for calm reflection. So what's he saying? He was afraid of violence himself. And in fact, there has been violence. Breitbart.com has a list of 22 instances of violence that have happened in the wake of the George Zimmerman verdict. And the media is not reporting on that. They're calling these rallies mostly peaceful, even though people are being beaten, cars are being attacked, windows are being broken, but the media will not cover that stuff. They will not refer to the hate crimes that are being committed by blacks against whites and Hispanics in the wake. And the seventh thing that Breitbart says, there are Zimmerman protesters have committed numerous racially motivated assaults, and he lists three very clear ones right in the piece. The eighth thing, stand your ground, had nothing to do with the Zimmerman case. You know, Eric Holder was out there yesterday talking about stand your ground. We got to revisit all these stand your ground laws. Well, stand your ground had absolutely nothing to do with the Zimmerman case. It was never referred to. It was never introduced. It was never talked about by either the prosecution or the defense. It simply was not. It was simply a case of self-defense, period, from start to finish. And by the way, Eric Holder yesterday, when he didn't even talk about bringing civil rights charges against Zimmerman because he knows they've got no chance. That's a done deal, not going to get anywhere with that. So he had to resort to talking about stand your ground laws, which had absolutely nothing to do with the Zimmerman case. Zimmerman did not invoke the stand your ground provision. The prosecutor himself, John Guy, one of the prosecutors, he said this. This is a quote from the trial. Quote, this is the prosecution. This case is not about standing your ground. So when you hear the mainstream media out there talking about stand your ground laws, it's totally fabricated. It's manufactured. It's made up. They are lying to you. Stand your ground had zero, nada, zilch to do with the Zimmerman case. Now, here's a ninth thing that the media may not be telling you is that this may be a case, this attack may be a case of gay panic. That Trayvon Martin, because of what Rachel Jeantel, his friend, told him on the phone, may have attacked Zimmerman because he thought he was a homosexual rapist who was going after his kid brother. That's the seed that Rachel Jeantel planted in his mind. Piers Morgan, talking to her, says he was freaked out by Zimmerman following him. She says, yes, definitely, after I say may be a rapist, for every boy, for every man, every who's not that kind of way, seeing a grown man following them, would they be creep out? So she says, look, Trayvon Martin wasn't homosexual, but he's followed by this guy that may be a gay rapist. That'd creep anybody out. She continued, people need to understand he didn't want that beep going to his father or girlfriend's house to go get, mind you, his little brother was there. Now, mind you, I told Trayvon it might have been a rapist. So you got 35 gay and lesbian activist groups out there supporting Trayvon Martin. It turns out this may have been an act, a hate crime on Trayvon Martin's part. He might have jumped George Zimmerman because he thought he was a homosexual pedophile. That's what Rachel Jeantel thought he was. That may have been what Trayvon Martin thought he was. I'm going to jump him before he goes after my kid brother who's at home. And then the 10th thing that the media won't tell you is that the Florida justice system probably is complicit in Trayvon Martin's death. Trayvon Martin would be alive today if the Florida justice system had done its job. This is what a lot of people don't know, but Police Chief Charles Hurley, he's of the Miami-Dade School Police Department. You imagine that? Here is a school district. Things are so bad there they've got a school district that has its own police department. Crime eminently. A school district with its own police department. Now, this police chief, Charles Hurley, he juiced the numbers. He wanted to make it appear like crime in schools was dropping, so he took things that were outright crimes and he classified them as disciplinary problems rather than crimes. So Trayvon Martin, for instance, he was found with a burglary tool. He was found with 13 pieces of jewelry that had been ripped off from a house that was a half a mile from school, and that's a crime. That's burglary. That's breaking and entering. Instead, that was classified as a disciplinary problem, and he was suspended for school instead of going to juvenile detention, going to jail. He was also caught with marijuana. And this is what Robert Stacey McCain says. Either of these incidents could have put Trayvon Martin into the custody of the juvenile justice system. However, because of Chief Hurley's attempt to reduce the school crime stats, according to sworn testimony, officers were, quote, basically told to lie and falsify, end quote, reports. Martin was never arrested. So think about this. If this police chief had been trying to make the school district look good by falsifying crime reports, turning him to something other than criminal acts, Trayvon Martin would be behind bars today, which means he would still be alive. So some of the complicity for this has got to rest with this police chief, Charles Hurley. This guy should have been locked up. He's out loose where he can attack an innocent guy, neighborhood watch guy. Whose fault is that? Well, in part, it's the fault of the police. And what does Trayvon Martin learn from that? He learns you can commit crimes and get away with it. You can commit crimes and get a slap on the hand. So it creates the possibility in his mind that there are things that he can get away with that he shouldn't do, but he doesn't think he's going to get in any kind of trouble for, because that's been his history in the past. We'll take phone calls after the break, 888-589-8840. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.